How are you folks? Down here again, another battle report. Coming up from last Thursday's game I had against the new Dwarves. Hugo, if you haven't seen, he is on the Wired form and he's painting up 2,000 points of new Dwarves in 3 months, which is a pretty cool thing to be doing, especially with all the new models and how great they look. So we're going to crack into a game here and see what these guys are all about. So we decided just to do a straight up battle line instead of rolling for stuff, just so we can get a feel of what the dwarves would be like in a battle line. So it's my regular high elf army and his dwarves, and 2,500 point game. And here we go. I've got my Frost Phoenix here in the left, Reavers in the centre there with Musician and Bows. Just behind them is a Bow Thrower and a 15 Archers just there on the right. Now I actually had to place the Frost Phoenix. I wanted to put him down almost last, and then I realised he'd got Rangers. The Rangers, he told me then, were brought in just to stop me from vanguarding up, so he couldn't use his Stroller's Rune, which is the new rune for our Vanguard. So, not wanting to use this knowledge to my advantage, I said I'd put him over in the left where I was going to put him, just in case they were going to go onto my left hand side. But if I'd known that, obviously I would have put him somewhere else. But it didn't really matter, it was the right thing to do. Moving on to the centre, and we have the 20 Phoenix Guard who have full command and the Razor Standard. We've got the 20 Spearmen who have the Banner Discipline and a full command. Inside that, I put the Noble who is my BSB. He has the Reaver Bow and the Shield and a Murworm. And my General is in there as well, my usual level 4 Archmage who's got High Magic, the Book of Oath and the Talisman of Preservation. And then the Sword Masters are there just on the right with full command, and they have the Lore Master there too, who's got his usual loadout with the Dragon Helm, giving him a 2+ for Flaming, the Spell Scroll, and then the Golden Crown of Atrazar, which will give him a 2+ ward. One of the readers actually, or listeners should I say, or watchers, or whatever happens in this, give me a shout and reminded me that it's not a 4+, it's a 2+ against the first wound. So thanks very much. And then just over on the right, I got 5 more Reavers who I didn't want to actually Vanguard because you'll see now in his setup why, because I couldn't really go fecking anywhere. 15 more Archers and then a Bow Thrower on the right hand side. And then onto the Dwarves. What we see here is the Dwarves after Vanguard, which means that the Stroller's Rune is very popular here. Ugo has them on every single unit, pretty much, which gets them across the board very, very quickly. And we just start here on the left hand side. So he's got a unit of Quarrelers there just to make up points really. And then he's got a Gyrocopter behind the wood there with a steam gun and 5 Rangers in the front. Now he has the Rangers there, as I said before, to stop me from Vanguarding within 12 inches of his line, so I can't stop his Vanguard, which is a clever thing to do. Then he has the 36 Longbeards there who have got a full command and the Rune of Stoicism. That gives them Stubborn. Yeah, that's it. Gives them Stubborn. Then they've got a Runesmith who has Fire Ring of Thori, which gives him a strength 4 breath weapon, I think it is. He's got the Rune of Spell Breaking, which is a Dispel Scroll essentially for these guys. Rune of the Furnace, which gives him a 2+ ward save against flaming attacks. And then the Rune of Stone, which gives him +1 onto his armor save. So with the shield included, I think he's on a 2+, something like that. Then on the right of them is the BSB, who's a Thane, and he's got the Master Rune of Grungi, which I'm looking at the book here, is standard bearing the Master Rune of Grungi confers a 4+ ward save to its bearer, which is quite good. But additionally, it gives the unit 5+ ward save against any wounds caused by shooting attacks and all magic missiles, and any friendly units within 6 of the bearer also get that as well. So that's pretty nice. That's actually very, very nice to keep these guys nice and safe when they're running across the board. Then on the right there we have 21 Hammers, who are a tougher unit now because they've got the extra attack. And they've got the full command, which is the Keeper of the Gate, and he's given him a Fire Rune, so he's got flaming attacks. A Musician and a Standard Player who's also got the Stroller's Rune. Sorry, there's a Stroller's Rune on the BSB over there as well, so they've got Vanguard. This guy has a Stroller's Rune and the Rune of Slowness. So if I do try to charge him, I'll have to subtract d6 from my charge distance, which is a nasty little one to have. And then the General is in there, who's a Thane who has a Great Weapon and an Oathstone, and that gives them, I think that gives them Stubborn as well, or it gives them some kind of thing. I'm not too sure what it is, to be honest with you, but we'll find out later on. And then going on to the right hand side for Hugo, he has 20 Slayers with full command, and they've also got a Stroller's Rune, so they fly up there too. I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys do with their death blows, because it looks like it's going to be a fun addition for these guys, and it's very good for their kind of fluff and what they are, because they really just want to kill stuff. They don't really want to do anything else. Then he's got 2 Gyrocopters who have vanguarded over there as well. They've both got steam guns, because steam guns are disgustingly horrible, especially against toughness 3 Elves. Then he has 5 more Rangers who are in the building over there, and they stopped the other unit I had over there to vanguard as well, so that kept them from moving up and blocking his lines. And on the right there he has 16 Iron Drakes who got full command and 2 runes of slowness. And for 2 runes of slowness, it means that the foe rolls 2d6 and must subtract the highest dice when subtracting from his charge distance. So if I do try to charge these guys, I want to make sure I'm very, very close. And usually if you're very, very close, they're going to blow your brains out. But I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys do as well. So finally, turn 1, as I vigorously flick through this bleeding dwarf book trying to find out these fucking rules. So we started off by rolling for the Ancestral Grudge. We actually did this at the start, and of course, as we've all been hearing, 5 or 6 means they hate absolutely everybody. Unluckily for Hugo, he rolled a 1 or a 2, so his general hates my general, and to be honest, his general probably would crush my general with a swat of his hand, because my general's a big weed. So it wasn't going to make much of a difference. Now I did want to give it a 5 or a 6 just to see how it would work, but Hugo wanted to roll, and fair play to him. So unfortunately he didn't get what he wanted. So we start off here with moving for the dwarves, and as you can see, the Gyrocopter just flies over there, because it's going to fly over my guys in the second turn anyway, and either drop a bomb or it's going to steam me to death. He doesn't move any of his rangers, so there's not really much point, because they're only really there to stop me from vanguarding. And then he just moves everything else up straight forward, which means that after moving, they are about, I think, 12 inches away from me. That's only after turn 1. This is a completely different thing that dwarves are doing now, which is pretty cool. And then over to the dwarf right hand side, and again everything just moves straight forward. Gyrocopters come up there just to give me a little bit of a pain, so they can pick who they want to jump over and blow up. On the right hand side, the poor old Iron Drakes continue their slog. They don't get to go move very far, and to be honest, Hugo probably should have put them a bit closer as well, because it works out that these guys are actually really, really tough, but they're just so far away they don't really get into action now because of all this stroller business. But anyway, everything else moves up, so that's pretty much the end of the dwarf movement. So the dwarf shooting, and he's got a couple of shooting units, the crossbows and the rangers and things like that. So the crossbows take out 5 of my reavers, who happily hold. Thank God for that. And the reavers on the right hand side take 3 hits as well, and they hold too, luckily enough. And then on to Elf turn 1. So I didn't really know what else to do here, so I just really had to stop these guys from coming at me. And what else do reavers do now but stop people from charging me? So I positioned the reavers in such a way that I would be able to get them either to flee, or else I would just let them attack them and take a turn of killing, and then hopefully I might get another turn where I can perhaps decide where I'm going to charge, because I'm going to have to get into combat with these guys anyway. Otherwise they're going to come at me and really batter me, especially with their +1 strength in the charge, which is it's just a pretty cool thing for the dwarves to have. Frost Phoenix then moves over the side as well, so he can pick and choose where he wants to go after this turn as well. Probably going to try and see if I can get into one of those flying buses to see maybe if I can stop them from flaming me, but we'll see how it goes. And then on my right hand side here, well, what we said was we were dying to see what the old Slayers would do. So I said, right, charge with my guys. So in they go, and we're going to have a nice combat here in the first turn, which rarely happens in a high elf or a dwarf game. Great to see though, which is pretty cool. Nothing else really moves for me, because if I do try and move, he's probably going to bother me. So we're just going to try and stay back and hold for a while. So it's the High Elf Magic phase, and with only 5 dice, there's only one thing I can be doing, and that's throwing a fiery convocation on the biggest, dirtiest unit that's there. So off I do, and off we go, and we get it off. I think it's on a 22, 23, and I was thinking, well, here comes the Dispel Scroll, but you go through his dice. Now, from what I thought it was, I thought he wanted to try and dispel it and keep his Dispel Scroll, not Dispel Scroll, whatever it is, Warding Ruin, or whatever they call it, until the next turn, or maybe turn 3. But Hugo actually said then earlier on, why the hell didn't I use that thing? Because I wasn't really going to spell it. So it looks like we got confused there. But anyway, Fiery Convocation goes off, gives me an extra ward save for my guy, and kills quite a few of these guys as well. So that's nice, because this is a big unit. It's a big tough unit as well. And then on to combat. This combat was vicious, absolutely vicious, and mainly because the Sword Masters are tough unit when they strike first. I mean, our initiative is much higher, so we're still getting the hit. We're still hitting on 3s because our weapon skill is 6. Killed an awful lot of these guys, but because of Death Blow, every single model who dies gets to attack. So the entire unit gets to attack. So we kill, what do we have here? 13. Massive kills. And even though they're dead, they still end up killing 10 of my guys. So I really don't know what to do here, to be honest. We're stuck in a combat now where we're going to get battered. At least we probably won't be able to get charged by the guys on the left hand side because of the way the Reavers are. If they try and turn, they'll fail to charge, so they have to charge the Reavers. It means that we're going to get another turn, and we should kill all these guys, but we're going to lose a hell of a lot more Sword Masters. Okay, Dwarf turn 2. And this slide is a little bit of a mess because with all the rules and stuff we were going through and all the charges and all the whatever ruins and whatever they had, kind of forgot to take a couple of pictures of the movement phase. So I'm going to have to put it all into this slide, unfortunately. So what we have here is 2 of the Vanguard and gyrocopters fly over here, getting ready to flame in the middle, which we will get back to in a minute. On the left hand side, the Rangers declared a charge in the Reavers, and he didn't charge him with the Longbeards, so these guys only moved a slight bit up, and the Longbeards moved up right behind them. The Rangers couldn't catch them anyway. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be very lucky, and I might, if I do rally, I'll be able to block them up one more turn, which is fantastic because these guys are really tough. And then on the top we have the Hammers who charge into the remaining Reavers up there, because if the Reavers do flee, then he'll just redirect into the side of the Swordmasters, and they're fucked. So no chance of me moving out of that. Magic phase was Hugo dispelling Fiery Convocation, because I think he had 11 dice, just threw them all, see you later, that was gone. And then the 2 gyrocopters opened up their hissing flame, whatever it is, unbelievable stuff, and he's wiped out half the unit, which is a bit of a disaster, but it's not going to be too bad. I mean, they're only spearmen and we're still there, so that's the main thing, and hopefully I'll be getting rid of those 2 guys with some bolt throwers in the next turn, hopefully, but we'll see about that. So the other gyrocopter flies directly over to my war machine, and Hugo wants to see how the old bomb works. So he rolls an artillery dice, gets himself an 8, but he is wounding me on 6s because it's only strength 3 and we're toughness 7. So we only managed to kill 1 guy, so that's quite fortunate for me. It means I'll still get to shoot for 1 more turn at least, and then he's probably going to kill me. So Dwarf shooting, and I think the Iron Dykes were still too far away to shoot, so he threw a couple of crossbows from his Rangers, and the Rangers did very well and killed 3 of my archers, because my archers are weeds. So cheerio, archers. So starting off with the Dwarf combat over here, and these guys have obviously mullered my 2 Aurelian Reavers. They are dead and they have reformed, and they're getting ready to come straight at my guys. Uh-oh. And back to the Slayers again, who all die from my attacks, but they all get to strike me back because that fucking death blow is a nightmare. Fucking hell. So I kill them all, they kill 6, and that's the end of these guys. Quite the cost though, but sure, whatever, it's good fun. And that's just what the Sword Masters do. They turn around and we're going to at least get rid of one of these gyrocopters because they're a pain in the hole. So Elf turn 2, and we're not going to get rid of the gyrocopter because it fucking flies away. We only run, I think we end up running 4, which is luckily enough not far enough to get charged by the hammerers over there. And his gyrocopter flies exactly 1 inch away from the edge of the board and doesn't fly off. Which means that with his Dwarf Leadership 9, he's going to be coming back fairly soon, which is not great. But at least it's going to be stopped for a turn. Not bad. So the rest of my turn, I fly the Frost Phoenix over there, up behind the 2 units. So I get a choice of, depending on where these Longbeards go, I'll be able to charge into another unit, and I'll have the Frost Phoenix in the back as well, which means that I'll get rid of a bit of the strength. Might have a chance to kill a lot more guys, and it's not looking too bad. What else do I do here? The Reavers rally, and they go back into the same position they were in before to wreck the heads of the Longbeards, which is grand, which is what nice thing to do. The Phoenix Guard at the bottom just turn around a little bit, expecting to charge off somebody. Now, the way that the Longbeards, are situated here, what should happen is if they charge into these Reavers, they'll form up and they shouldn't be able to clip my guys at all, and then they'll follow through and probably go into my my archers over there. So what? Doesn't matter. Now, what I should have done, and what I didn't think of, and what I was told by Matt later on, because he doesn't interrupt in games, he's a good lad, is that the elf archers are actually quite decent in combat compared to a lot, because it always strikes first, and they always get a lot of hits. Three deep hits, not bad. So I could have charged into his rangers at the top there, but I didn't. Now, I never even thought about that, but it's a good idea. It's something I have to keep in mind for later on. So more learning for the elves. It's great. And just a little bit more in the movement phase over here to see what the table is like. I moved my spearmen with my main boys just back another couple of inches. Reverse, quick reverse. And just another one there with the Frost Phoenix just to show where he is. So the magic phase isn't a great one, but it's not bad. I get Hand of Glory off on these guys, so they're going to be hitting on pretty much 2s, I think, at this stage, no matter who they're shooting at, so that's good. And +1 to my ward save as well, which is nice. Shooting phase is not bad at all. That Reaver Bow always works out wonderful for me, and the Reaver Bow takes down this guy over here, so that's one less to deal with. So on to Dwarf turn 3, and it's charges all over the shop again. The hammers try and charge my Phoenix Guard, but they fail. Luckily enough for me. Maybe I should have fled, but I didn't want to chance fleeing in case he redirected into my spearmen. So I think I was probably better off trying to hold, and the Phoenix Guard are a tough enough little unit, so if we got in contact and got a bit of a chopping, so what? They might as well take it. But anyway, failed, so we're good to go. Over on the left hand side, I did not realise that he was going to charge his runesmith out of the unit and into the side of my guys. Now there is enough room there. There's a 1 inch gap, so he fits in there to the side. Whether it's a good idea or not, I don't know, but it was an interesting thing to do, just to clear the lines out of the way there. So in he is. Gyrocopter down on the right hand side charges where it probably should have been in the first place, into the back of the bolt thrower, so that should get rid of those guys. Yeah, as you can see, there's no Sword Masters left. And that's because a combination of Rangers and Iron Drakes have destroyed them. Luckily for me, the Iron Drakes were second to shoot, so I had some nice saves against that. Obviously my crown is gone for 2+, which I actually failed. But I also had a ward save against the flaming attacks, so that's not too bad. I still have 2 wounds left on this guy, because the Sword Master is pretty good, or Lower Master is pretty good. But I will try to have to get him out of the way. Oh, so kaboom! Gyrocopter steams right through my bolt thrower and right into the back of the poor, unsuspecting archers. Didn't know what was going to hit them. So they're going to be in combat for quite a while now. Poor old archers. So, high elf turn 3, and Curse of the New Book strikes again, where we forget to take some photographs because we were looking over books and ruins and charges and what the hell is going on. So, unfortunately, I have to work with one slide again. Sorry about this. So, we have the Lore Master who moves over here to get out of range. He couldn't move very far, but he moved far enough so he wouldn't get shot by those feckin' Iron Drakes again. Which actually wouldn't be too bad because I have a 4+ or a 2+ save, but they would all hit, so he would be bound to fail at least 2 of them. So I wouldn't want to take a chance. Frost Phoenix and the Phoenix Guard go into his hammers, and I think that's going to be pretty decent because they're pretty cool units and they're tough as fuck. That's why they're good. Now the new hammers are good, lots of attacks, lots of this, that and the other. His general is in there as well, who's a tough guy. But it is going to be a tough battle, which is going to be fun. I mean, it's all about tough battles. On the left hand side, what I did was in my magic phase, I threw Wisdom's Wild Form trying to keep this Reaver alive. I probably shouldn't have bothered me whole, and I put Wisdom's Wild Form on my Phoenix Guard so we could chop the living life out of these guys. But it was a silly move, impetuous, what can you do? I thought it'd be a bit of fun as well, just to see if he'll survive. I also tried a Fiery Convocation, but it failed. So I shouldn't have turned that over, but never mind. So, into the High Elf combat phase. So we got 2 big combats going on here, and well, the one on the left isn't too big, but anyway. So we had Wild Form on my guy, didn't matter one bit because he killed me. So he gets taken off and the guy reforms. Fair enough, no problem. In the centre, it was where the big battle started off, and it went pretty well. Now, what happened is I made a giant mistake, and I thought it was just for a bit of fun, but it turned out to be a mess. He declared a challenge. I said, why not? Why not? Let's have a challenge. And for the next few turns, these guys continue to handbag each other for about fucking, I think it's 2.5 turns, because they can't hit and they can't wound. They're useless. Two idiots. And what happens is, well, you'll see actually what happens is, I won't spoil it for you. But anyway, Phoenix Guard go in, and the Frost Phoenix, and they go to town, and they kill pretty much half, 3/4 of the unit. Brilliant stuff. Oh, I really didn't think they'd be this good. We lost 5 guys. That's fine. That's okay. We still have 3 ranks. We still have a guy in the back. We should be able to get rid of these guys in another turn. Things are looking pretty good. And the combat over here is looking even better. This is the result of the combat. He does no wounds to me. I do no wounds to him. Or do I do? That wound, I don't know where that wound came from, to be honest with you. I think it might have been from something else. But anyway, he's got a wound. I've got nothing. So we turn around and we're ready now. We have nearly 3 ranks. So we might be able to get something through here. And then we fire onto the dwarf turn 4. So what happens is, I made another bleeding mistake. What happens here is that the runesmith declares a charge on my spears. And for some ridiculous reason, because he's so far away, I should have checked how far he was and said yes or no or whatever. Even held, because if he didn't make that, those iron, or not those iron warriors, those longbeards wouldn't have been able to make that charge. But what I did was I stood and shot my Reaver bow, who, as usual, was his wonderful death-defying self, and he killed your man. But what happens is he opened the lane then for these guys to storm into the left-hand side of my unit. So another major mistake sees me about to get a hiding. So well done, Owen. Good stuff out of you. Nothing else really on there in the slide, so off we go. And on the right-hand side of the dwarf line, the Iron Drakes slowly walk up towards the Elves. These guys are really good, but they're really fucking slow. Hugo needs to get, I think Hugo needs to have these probably in the centre from now on, and probably moved up a bit further if he can, because their shooting is really good, and they're really tough as well. I mean, they're what are they? They're Iron Warriors with massive guns. I mean, what the hell? That's brilliant. Iron Breakers with massive guns. These guys are really good, but they're not showing it in this game. And yet more dwarf movement. This gyrocopter flies over here and gets ready to use his steam gun for a second time. Bleeding steam guns are lethal. So the dwarf shooting turn comes up, and he piles as many shots as he can get into this lower master, but he's just about surviving. I have to get this guy out of the way or else he's going to be dead, and I don't want that to happen because he's a few points. And the dwarf steam gun opens up and only managed to kill 2, so I get very lucky here. Very lucky. Close combat then with the gyrocopter and my archers, and the archers do quite well. They actually only lose 1 guy, and they manage to hold with their steadfast, so that's pretty good going. The main combat here now, which is pretty cool for me, I must say. I haven't done the little blue stars for my guys, but I only lose 2 out of everything. And that's pretty good going. Best thing for us to do, well, the only thing we could do really was to get rid of all the hammers, and then the 3 guys at the side there are going into the iron breakers. They managed to kill 2 iron breakers anyway, which is pretty good. And we get rid of all the hammers except for that feckin' challenge. That guy will not die. And now I have a Frost Phoenix sitting there doing absolutely nothing, wasting my time because my idiot champion doesn't know how to kill somebody. What the hell is going on? Well, anyway, things are looking pretty good for me. So High Elf turn 4. Lower Master puts his fucking skates on and gets the hell out of there quick, because if he doesn't, he's going to be toast. So he gets into a position where he can throw hopefully a spell on this thing, hopefully something I can get on him and destroy it, because it's wrecking my head. There's nothing else for me to move here. I made a mistake actually. I never actually moved my spearmen. I never moved them around, never did anything with them. Another case of not watching what's going on, because I'm kind of getting bogged down with what the hell this combat is, you know. So Magic Phase was an absolute bust. I got no dice and they did a crap spell and they did fuck all. So we move off, and very blurry picture, apologies for this, but it's a wonderful picture because these guys are brilliant. These archers are great. They've taken a wound off this thing and they took nothing in return. Either it's the gyrocopter being a bit crack in combat, which maybe it is because it only has 2 attacks. But I mean, we've got a whole 2 ranks firing at back at them, and they're looking pretty good. And onto the main combat, which is working out very well for me right now for some bizarre reason. Hugo just cannot hit me with these longbeards. They just haven't got it. I don't know what the hell is going on. But if they had to roll that hatred at the start, I think I'd be nearly toast at this stage. But my ward save is really good. They're only strength 4, so I still get an armor save as well. Meanwhile, the champions are still handbagging each other, doing nothing, and the Frost Phoenix is flapping around all over the place, doing fuck all as well, waste. In the meantime, though, I've only lost one Phoenix Guard in this combat, and he's lost 2 guys, so that's pretty good going, considering. And straight on to Dwarf Combat turn 5, because all Hugo did really was move the Iron Drakes up a bit, so who cares about that, right? So into the combat, and what you see here is almost the end of this combat, because I seem to have missed out another picture. Well done. But what has happened here is I've lost 3 guys. The champions are still doing their usual shit, not killing each other because they're useless. The Frost Phoenix is dead in the water because he can't attack anybody, and all we have is 2 guys hitting back, so we lose 3. He only loses 1, and we've lost our rank, we've lost everything like that, so we're testing very low. I think we were testing on double 1s or something like that. I actually got a 3, but doesn't matter. We break from combat and he tries to get me and he fails to catch me. As you can see in the later slides, they got away, but I've given him my little battle standard bearer just to show that he's actually been broken from combat. Combat over here on the right hand side is going far better for me though. Gyrocopter's dead and my guys are brilliant. Well done, archers. And High Elf turn 5 sees the archers getting very, very cocky, and they turn around and charge straight into the side of the Iron Drakes, who even with their 2d6 they still get in because they roll, I think I rolled a 4 and a 6 and I only needed a 3 to get in, so good stuff. In we go, lads. So Lore Master does not want to be outdone by a bunch of archers, so he goes straight into combat there as well. He has to do something, or else he's probably going to get killed by something else. So he's better off in combat than he is standing out there doing nothing. This is kind of a little bit of a spoiler alert as well. As you can see, Fiery Convocation is over there. I took this picture just after I had cast this because I realised again that because of all the things we were looking at in Hugo's book, I had forgotten to take some more pictures. So on the next phase or the next screen, ignore that Fiery Convocation until it comes back again. So moving on to more movement, and well, not more, that's all I have. The mage and his unit trying to move out of the way so these longbeards won't be able to get in there and charge against them. Yeah, it was kind of a worry just to see if I could get them to move, but they weren't moving very far anyway. On the right there, the Phoenix Guard rally. Yes, good stuff. And they turn around to face their inevitable combat again. So that should be fun. And off we go. So High Elf Magic, and surprise, surprise, I've cast Fiery Convocation. Didn't see that one coming. It doesn't kill that many, but kills enough to break this unit down even more. And this is looking very nice now because, I mean, the Longbeards are good, but there's not a lot of them, so they're going to be in a bit of trouble if they do charge into my Phoenix Guard this time. So back over here, and we have ourselves another battle. Somehow these archers thought they were going to win. Oh no, they're not. So, but I only lose 1 because they were only attacking me with 2. What you don't see here is that they actually reform into my archers, which, you know what, it doesn't really matter. I get these guys out of the way. They won't be shooting at me, they won't be charging at me, and they'll only kill a bunch of archers. So fucking it doesn't matter, really, does it? Combat, and congratulations, Phoenix. You have killed yourself 1 man. Well done. At least he died eventually. So what I try to do here is I try to get my Phoenix's base to block the charge here. Unfortunately, we got someone. Well, I thought it would have blocked us now. Matt came over to give us a hand, and what happens is that the base, or sorry, the movement tray that these guys are on, the Longbeards, actually just grazes. Well, just grazes my best, but because our movement tray isn't counted as part of their base, they'll get past and they will be able to move in towards my guys. So they are definitely going to be charging me the next turn. Bollocks. But good news over here, and the Lore Master outdoes his friends over there and kills himself one of these gyrocopters. These things have been a fucking nuisance, but they're really, really good, and I think they're very, very definitely going to be used in every single dwarf army that's around because they're great fun, and you know, it's just a sort of unit that they need to use and need to have. A bit of fun. That's what dwarves need, a bit of fun. So dwarf turn 6. So I've got a couple of arrows here, which means that the first charge they did was towards my spears, who ran like fuck because otherwise we'd be killed. Now I thought I would have lost my BSB because of them fleeing, but what I found out was if I voluntarily flee, he doesn't die, he just runs. It's only if he flees from combat. So That was great. Run away quickly. We actually didn't run very far, but what Hugo did then was to redirect into my Phoenix Guard again, which I thought, this is grand. Now Matt said, well, you might as well flee because it's the last turn and he won't catch you, so you'd be fine. But I did kind of want to try and get some points, so I said I'd hold, and it was still a 10. But rolling like a boss as he does, Hugo does it and he's in. So at least it's going to be a nice combat to end this game, which is pretty good. Over here, we show the handiness of having a magnetized tray. You can turn it upside down and models won't fall off because they're all dead. We did manage to kill one of the Iron Drakes, but these guys are really tough, and it was well worth sacrificing a bunch of archers just to get these guys away from all my other units. And I'm delighted they weren't in the centre of combat, because it would have been really tough for me to get rid of them. They're very good, and if anyone is going to try and use them, I'd say use them as centrally as possible and get them to blow everyone away before they get up towards you, because they're really, really good. Back into the combat then, and again the ward save of these guys, the 4+ ward save, is an absolute godsend. We only lose one guy, and I think I killed 2 or 3 of his, which is brilliant stuff. So it looks like in my turn we should be able to get rid of this whole unit. So my last turn, and the last turn of the game. Frost Phoenix looking wonderful there, but he can do absolutely nothing. So just left him where he was, and there was no point in moving really, so I just turned around my mage's unit to fire a spell at these Iron Drakes if I get enough dice. Obviously if I only get so many dice, I'll be using one certain spell on my Phoenix Guard. And I only got a few dice and I cast that spell. So I threw everything at Wizard's Wild Form and I got it off. So these guys should be able to chop up these. So we go into the final combat phase of the game, and unfortunately, even with my pluses, buffs and all that sort of crap, we still can't get rid of the unit. What can I say? Dwarves are tough, and their leadership is really high, and I think we were, I think he was on an 8 or a 7 rerollable, and he got it, so there you go. That is the end of the game, and a nice bloody game it was too. So that's the end of the game, and what a game it was. It was a lot of fun. That game was a hell of a lot of fun. I've been told, and I've played Dwarves once before, and they were not very exciting. It was just sit back and just fire stuff, which I suppose, why wouldn't you if your guns are so good? But this was completely different to what I thought. Lots of attacking, lots of vanguarding, straight up in your face, flying stuff everywhere. Manic, absolutely brilliant. Slayers are great fun. Deathblow, I mean, it's just really exciting what they can do. Now, I just want to go over one or two of the units. So we go over the Iron Drakes, who did not get into combat really, and didn't get to shoot too much really. And this is something that they really need to do. And I think Hugo was saying he would agree with that. That maybe he should put them in the center and get them to really get into the combat more. And I think if they do, it would be a different story, because they're really, really tough. And then going on to the gyrocopter, these things are great crack. They're great fun. A flying unit like that is really, really necessary for an army like this, just to make them different, because it really adds to not just the game, but to the excitement of the game as well, and the player using the army having some fun, because these units are great. I have seen things said about comping these things. I've even thought about it myself when we were thinking about doing the scale, and I think it'd be unfair, because a dwarf army deserves to have a lot of gyrocopters. They're not fucking broken in the slightest. They're tough, yes. Well, of course they're tough. They're made of steel and iron. They're not made out of fucking pigskin. They're going to be toughness 5. Who cares? You're going to have to deal with something like this. And, 80 points might be cheap, but so what? Everything else is expensive, and they deserve something decent. So I think they should be left as they are. I don't think these should be comped whatsoever, because this is a perfectly balanced and fun army. And, people might want to be dirty and take 1,000,000 of this and 1,000,000 of that. I think a lot of people are just going to have a lot of fun with it, because you know what, this book is really cool, and the models are sweet. I'm definitely going to get myself a couple of boxes of probably Ironbreakers, add them into Triumph and Treachery Army as allies or something like that, because I think they really look great. And you know what, I'm very jealous. I thought the High Elf book was a fun one. Might just be that the Dwarves are the fun one, horribly enough. But anyway, enough from me, and yeah, had a great game with Hugo. Thanks for the game, and go on to the Dwarves. I look forward to playing them again. Alright, thanks folks, take it easy.